Without a doubt, this is so easy to answer. I grew up poor. And then one of the things I knew because I grew up poor was I never wanted to be poor, right? So I got real clear at a young age, like 9 years old. I'm not going to live like this. I have to find a way to drive revenue, whatever that looks like. I didn't know at the time, but I started chasing a paycheck at 9 years old and never stopped, right? So that led me to becoming a chief revenue officer in media, winning all these awards, making a lot of money. But more than that, to me, it was like I saw it as this safety.
End of the road, just pivot and go. Pivot and go.
Heather Monahan, welcome to the Pivot and Go podcast. This is an absolute pleasure to have you on here. I look up to you, probably like one of the most, confidence builders, and being a confidence coach myself, I have a lot that I learned from you, and just to be honest, steal from you. So thank you for being on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, I love you. You have been such a blessing to me since I met you. Even the day, I don't know if you remember, the day that you came on my podcast, and we didn't know each other personally, before that, I just wanted to interview you for my show. And I was in the worst mood, and I told you I was having the worst day, and I was thinking like, oh, should I cancel on this guy today? I'm just not in the mood, and I want to be in a good mood. And I turned the Zoom on, and you were there, and I told you, I said, I'm having the worst day, and I don't know even know if we should do this interview. And you're like, oh, don't worry, we got this. And we ended up having the best time. And I walked away a totally different person. And I was like, oh, thank God he just came on the show. It was amazing.
You're awesome. Isn't it funny, like the friends you meet that become some of your best friends, you haven't actually even met in person. It's like our Zoom life. You're one of those. We got to get you out to this coast, or I got to come to your coast.
Oh, 100% agree. And we know way too many people in common.
Scary.
And it's just,
scary.
yeah, it's got to happen soon.
All right, let's get this thing rolling. So start us off with a bang, something that maybe not everybody knows about you. Successful businesswoman, author, speaker, you just kill it. But something a little different.
Okay, this is true story. My whole life, I have smelly feet. Like literally, my feet stink. They're disgusting. And I've built this whole career and facade in my life. I was in corporate America for 20 plus years. And I always used to try to project this like really powerful image. And I would be nervous. I didn't ever want someone to smell my feet or to know I have sweaty, stinky feet. That's disgusting, right? You're trying to be perfect and you have all these imperfections. And it's funny, after I got fired and my confidence went to a zero, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start embracing the fact that I have flaws just like everybody else. And the more I rock my flaws as my advantage and what's unique and different about me, the better I feel about myself. So that's something that I feel like a lot of people say, oh my gosh, she's crazy that she shares this, but it makes me feel better about who I am.
Oh, that's so good, because we all have those things, and we'll get really in depth in this in your new book, Overcoming Your Villains, of the masks that we put on, the facades that we put on. And the most freeing thing to be is yourself. But it's so hard for people to do. We're our biggest defenders. So before we get into that meat, talk to me about your biggest life pivot, because you climbed the corporate ladder, like amazing. But talk to me about the biggest life pivot you've had to make, how you got through that, how you pivoted and basically gone on to what you have become today.
Without a doubt, this is so easy to answer. I grew up poor. And then one of the things I knew because I grew up poor was I never wanted to be poor, right? So I got real clear at a young age, like 9 years old. I'm not going to live like this. I have to find a way to drive revenue, whatever that looks like. I didn't know at the time, but I started chasing a paycheck at 9 years old and never stopped, right? So that led me to becoming a chief revenue officer in media, winning all these awards, making a lot of money. But more than that, to me, it was like I saw it as this safety and this certainty. I thought I was in this well-lit arena where I knew the next move after chief revenue officer is CEO, and maybe it wouldn't be for the company I was working for, but it would be another one. And I had all this expertise and network. And I used to say I have golden handcuffs. I don't love my job, but I love my paycheck. I have to do what I do. And this was a story that I would perpetuate and tell myself. I'd tell others. My son would say, you hate going to work. You complain about traveling all the time, but that's what I have to do. I had to do it. So anyhow, getting fired for me from that situation, from that story, from that role, I was so scared because I had never thought about working for myself. That sounds really scary. I thought safety meant work in corporate America. It's well lit. You know the next move, you know the next pitch, you know who's in charge, you know who you have to talk to. But this whole idea of, wait, you go to work for yourself? How do you know who's going to pay you? Where does the money come from? Where's the pipeline? Where's the trajectory? Where's the plan, the roadmap? And so when I got fired, I took that opportunity to, number one, ask for help, which was brilliant. I never used to ask for help. And now, as you know, as soon as I got on the phone with you today, I'm like, David, can you help me? I'm always asking for help, right? All the time, because asking for help is something strong people do. And I used to be afraid that I would appear weak if I asked for help. So I wouldn't when I was younger. That's like one of the beautiful things that age gives you, is some wisdom. So, I took that opportunity to ask for help and be vulnerable and shine a light on shame and start saying, you know what, I don't know what being an entrepreneur looks like, but if I'm ever even going to take a glance at this idea, it's got to be right now that I'm unemployed. And that led me down a very uncertain path in a very dark world. It wasn't well lit the way I saw corporate America. But, here I am 3 years later, and I'm so grateful I did it.
Oh, this is so good. This is like one door closes that you thought was your door, your thing, 4 open, an entire beachfront patio overlooking the ocean. Oh, I love it. I love it. And asking for help.
David, but to that point, I want to say something about that.
Yeah.
What I came to realize that I didn't know at the time, the day that woman thought she fired me, I had actually fired my number one villain. And what happens is when you fire a toxic, negative person from your life that doesn't want you to succeed, they're in your circle, but not your corner. But when you fire them from your life, that just what you said happens. 4 opportunities come, 5 people come, all these good people start showing up, where before you were blocked by negativity. I truly believe this. So that day I fired that villain from my life, so much opportunity came to me.
Beautiful. The setback that we think is often the setup, if we're willing to take that chance, which you have done a miraculous job of doing. So I want to get into that. Let's talk about overcoming your villains, because a lot of people think villains come from the outside, but it's not. It's the villain that we have on our inside. I've never heard that before. Fire yourself. That's really cool. Let's get into what does overcoming your villains basically, in essence, what does that mean?
Well, listen, we can all have toxic people in our life. We can be drawn to toxic situations. We can repeat, negative patterns from our childhood, and those can all be villains in our life. Social media can be a villain in your life, totally. Right? Depending on how you respond to it and how you use it. Being in the wrong career can be your villain, right? If you're an artistic person who loves to paint, but you're sitting as a CPA, miserable at your job, your villain is your career. Some people are eating unhealthy and not working out, and their villain is this holdback around their weight. It's really about getting real with yourself and saying, there's a lot of situations in my life. I need to start analyzing, how do I feel and show up in each one of them? Whether it's having lunch with a friend and you leave and say, I don't feel so good about myself right now. Doesn't mean they're a bad person, but they're not your people, right? And starting to pay attention to, how do I feel when I leave the day at the office? I don't feel good. This isn't making me feel great. I feel much better on the weekends when I'm doing A, B, C, and D. How can I find a way to start moving myself away from the things that are villains in my life and moving me towards the things that I want to do? And the hardest part about this, and I know you'll get it, is that, and I knew this, I used to love speaking in corporate America. I didn't know people got paid for it. I didn't know it was a career, because I lived in this little bubble called the media world, and we don't pay speakers in the media world. We just didn't. And so for me, I thought, well, yeah, I'd love to speak for a living, but that doesn't exist. I remember saying that to someone, and they were like, oh, that's too bad. Yep, get back to your job. You're good at it. You should stay in your lane. And here's what I've decided to do. I've blown up all the lanes, and I take my unique talents wherever I want to go. And that started with writing a book, which led me to Google, how do you sell books? And it said speak. And that led me to a speaking career where now I literally get paid to show up and speak, something I love to do that makes me excited every day. Is it easy? developing a new client base and breaking into new industry? No, but it's so worth it. So worth it.
Oh my gosh, so much good stuff in there. You are like an army tank going down just any lane, boom, you're crushing it over because you have that insatiable drive.